Hello viewers and welcome to another exciting episode of Real Estate Talks brought to you by Javahreigns Estates. And on today's episode, we'll be talking about from purchase to profit. What does that mean? I'm sure you also want to know what it means. Don't go anywhere. Stay with me while we give you all the necessary information you need to know about from purchase to profit. So with me in the studio is no other person than the MD of Javahreigns Estates in person of Mr. Rex. Thank you so much for being here with us again for this episode.
Yeah, thank you, please.
So today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, which is from purchase to profit. You know, sometimes when you buy things to resell, the purpose is for you to get profits out of it. Sometimes we lose a lot. Sometimes even the capital, you can't get it back. So what do you understand by the phrase or term from purchase to profit?
Okay, I think largely it has a lot to do with purpose. Every purchase must have a purpose behind it. Now, when there's no purpose behind purchase, there can't be profit after purchase. Okay, like I said, it's like a procession, you know, from purchase to profit. I think there's a P missing, and that's purpose. It takes a purpose before purchase to make a profit after purchase. So I think that's a summary of it.
Wow, that's very interesting to hear. So moving on to the very first question. The first question says, when people hear real estate investments, many people think buying land is the hard part. From your experience, what really determines whether purchase becomes profitable or not?
Okay, like I earlier said, purpose, purchase, profit. So what really determines whether...
That we have 3 P's.
Yeah, purpose, profit, purchase, then profit. So what really determines whether a purchase is going to be profitable, like I said, is have an exit strategy, have an execution plan. So these are actually what makes a purchase. A buyer comes to a real estate company and he buys a land. Okay, what makes that land profitable? Develop. So that's why I said like an exit strategy. Are you selling? Are you renting? Are you developing? Are you flipping? Are you holding for resale? Like land banking strategy. So if I'm going to put it in context, number 1 is have an execution plan. Number 2, have an exit strategy. And number 3, have a value creation plan for that property. Buying is transactional. Like I said, profit is strategy.
You made mention of something which is land banking. What do you mean by land banking?
Okay, land banking is actually prospecting or following where the city is going and positioning yourself through a purchase for when development is going to come. So that's now giving you, let me not go ahead of myself, but that's giving you advantage of time and location. So that's another way of making your purchase profitable.
Wow, so land banking is a way of making your purchase profitable. That's beautiful. Well, moving on to the second question, which says, before buying any property, what are the key things you personally look out for to make sure it has real profit potential? For example, I'm a novice and I know nothing about land banking or land purchasing or how to purchase land. How do I know, or what are the key things I need to look out for personally to make sure it has real profit potential? Because sometimes when we buy things, we buy with the sense of, I want to make profit out of this. So what are the key things I need to look out for?
Okay. Let me cite a real-time example. A couple of days ago, the Minister of SCT was in Kuje.
Interesting.
And he promised that the project should be delivered by June 2026, this year.
Wow, I thought it was supposed to be next year.
So you can see, this stems to my answer now. Number 1 is growth catalysts. What are the growth catalysts? Government projects. So if you are able to study government projects, you can tell development. Land don't appreciate. Value, infrastructures makes land to appreciate. So buying a land is an investment, but making a profit out of that investment is tied to certain clauses, like the value-driven propositions around the infrastructures, government projects, commercial hubs, roads, population growth. These are things that gives potency to a purchase. So when people, like I cited an example with Kuje now, Kuje, this gives you an understanding that in the next 6 months, prices are going to skyrocket. So for someone who wants to buy a land and with this understanding of the potential of profit, we key into locations like this. And this gives you an opportunity to buy at an entry price because you know when these facilities or amenities are delivered, prices definitely will skyrocket.
Wow. So one of the key things you should look out for is the value attached to the land itself.
Yes, growth, catalysts, entry price. Let me talk more about this entry price. Is right now, what is a square meter, a 250 square meter in Kuje goes for 2.5 million. That's like an entry price. Now, when these amenities come in, those prices will not be the same. They begin to skyrocket. So catching in on entry prices gives you potency for profits.
So if I were you, I would start purchasing when I begin to hear the entry prices of these plots of land. So make sure you open your ears and you listen and hear well. So we're moving on to the third question, and it says, a lot of people buy land and then just wait. At what point does waiting make sense? And when does it actually hurt your returns? Because sometimes you can wait for so long and something might happen along the way and it will hurt you. But at what point does it make sense?
First of all, let's get this thing straight. Land is an investment, but how well it appreciates is tied to certain factors. So when does it make sense? Like I said, when you get your projections right. Now, like I said, places like Kuje now, we already see approved government infrastructures. We already see roads and amenities. We already see demand already in place. Now, that's when buying and waiting makes sense. When you already focus this, when you buy in between these infrastructures being built, that's when waiting makes sense. Then when waiting doesn't make sense is when the promises of infrastructures are not delivered. Now that slows or that keeps your assets at no appreciation rate. So it doesn't make sense. 2, when there are no legal security. Legal security in the sense that the documentation behind the land is not genuine. You see that you are waiting for this asset to appreciate. At the end of the day, you fall a victim. Okay, like a couple of years ago, I bought a property in Kaduna at a very low entry price, and I just kept it for quite a number of years. And what happened? Demand. Demand is one factor that makes things appreciate. That area became in demand. People started buying houses there. People started building. And when I flipped, I made almost 200% profit. So That's when waiting makes sense. You can project where the city is going to and buy and wait. And because your wait is in line with demand, your wait is in line with infrastructures, that makes your waiting make sense.
So what would you say is the major growth corridor in the city of Abuja right now?
I think number one is what the Abuja development is in phases. So buying in accordance to those phases or the development in those phases is actually what makes sense. 1. 2, where's the population going? The Abuja population is expanding, and this makes people, anybody that wants to build right now can't build in the central area because of the cost of buying, cost of building. They go to places where cities are emerging and build. So number 1 is, where is the population expanding to? Number 2, where is the government infrastructure going to? So these are things that make sense.
Those are very interesting and insightful answers. And honestly, thank you for not holding back. Moving on to the 4th question, which is, how important is location versus timing? When it comes to turning a property into profit, which one would you prioritize more?
Okay, if I would do justice to your question, I would say both of them are important. Okay, but location is foundational because a wrong location, even at a right time, may not deliver. And when we say a wrong location, we need to give disclaimer. There is actually no wrong location, but in terms of profitability, in terms of appreciation, because every city was once a bush. So when we give context to that, so people don't think, okay, this is actually, no, there's no wrong location actually. There is actually just timing. Every location has this timing. Like when infrastructures are coming to a location, that's the right time to invest.
So now we'll be moving on to the last question. If you had to give one practical piece of advice to someone trying to move from just owning property to actually profiting from it, what would it be?
Okay, my singular piece of advice would be stop thinking like a buyer, start thinking like an investor. A buyer just makes you transactional. An investor makes you strategic in your plans. What does that mean? Stop, have an execution plan. When you think like an investor, you have an execution plan. When you think like an investor, you have an exit plan. When you think like an investor, you create a value proposing plan for that property. So that would be my singular advice.
Thank you so much for all you've said. Like you said, stop thinking like a buyer. Think like an investor, because as an investor, you have a value proposing plan. And I'm sure you heard everything you had to say. And until next time, see you on our next episode. And I remain Peace Sharon. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment.